For a long time, African-centered scholars and academics have pressurized Egyptian antiquities to allow for the testing of skin pigmentation. This can be done via the measurement of the concentration of melanin to ascertain the exact skin tone of mummified individuals. Understandably, Afrocentric anthropologists have always been confident in the knowledge that ancient Egyptians will cluster among the same racial stock as modern Africans. Esteemed historian and physicist Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop developed a simple melanin dosage test that would be able to return the exact living complexion from any mummy based on a minuscule sample of the epidermis. What's important to note here is that melanin concentration is responsible for skin pigmentation. The more melanocytes present in skin, the darker an individual will be. Diop himself stated, although the epidermis is the main site of the melanin, the melanocytes penetrating the derm at the boundary between it and the epidermis, even where the latter has mostly been destroyed by the embalming materials, show a melanin level which is non-existent in the white-skinned races. In the case of the mummies sampled by Diop, in spite of some significant melanin degradation, they still possessed a concentration of melanocytes well within the dark-skinned ranges, normal for black Africans, but considerably beyond the accessible range for Eurasian peoples. Regarding the origin of his samples, Diop continues, "The samples I myself analyzed were taken in the physical anthropology laboratory of the Musée de l'Homme in Paris off the mummies from the Marietta excavations in Egypt. For 2 years past, I have been vainly begging the curator of the Cairo Museum for similar samples to analyze. No more than a few square millimeters of skin would be required to mount a specimen. Naturally, his attempts to advance this test have faced staunch resistance from the gatekeepers of Egyptology, who only benefit from the lack of transparency in a shameless attempt to perpetuate the myth of racial ambiguity. This allows them to make estimations and promote reconstructions that are illogically and politically based on the current ethnically divergent population of Egypt, as opposed to their actual complexion based on a consistent and measurable variable that is easily acquired. However, more recently, during an excavation headed by the German Institute for Archaeology in Cairo in the year 2000, researchers sought to carry out anthropological and paleopathological analysis of the human remains from 3 tombs of the nobles of the necropolis of Thebes West. An additional study was conducted by Melanine and Verbergen, published in 2005. The study sought to test the quality of methods of rehydration for mummified tissue. In the study, samples were taken from a pool of 273 mummies, dated from the New Kingdom. Samples were taken from each organ of each of the mummies. During analysis of the skin samples, biologists noted that skin sections showed particularly good tissue preservation. Although much of the epidermis had already separated from the dermis, the remaining epidermis often was preserved well. The basal epithelial cells were packed with melanin as expected for specimens of Negroid origin. In essence, the epidermis was consistent with black or Negroid African groups based on the density of the melanin. This was the only conclusive assumption made alluding to ethnicity during the study, since its purpose was to compare methods of rehydration. This objective conclusion gives a silent nod to the tireless efforts of Diop and his protégés, who always knew that given the opportunity to test, the ancient Egyptians would be proven to be amongst the same ethnic stock as their African brethren.